Star Wars is packed with iconic heroes and villains, but buried deep in its vast galaxy are some truly bizarre and unexpected characters. From cartoonish mercenaries to cosmic horrors, these figures stretch the limits of Star Wars lore in wild and fascinating ways. Let's start by diving into one of the earliest and weirdest, a green space rabbit mercenary who somehow became a legendary deity, Jaxxon. Jaxxon is probably the strangest green space mercenary you didn't expect to see in Star Wars, a giant anthropomorphic rabbit no less. Introduced in 1977's early Marvel Star Wars comics, Jaxxon stood out like a sore green paw. He's a Lepi, a species of tall, green humanoid rabbits packing blasters and bad attitudes, and he quickly became known as a mercenary and smuggler rolling with Han Solo and Chewbacca. Sounds ridiculous. Absolutely, but hear me out. Before you dismiss him as a goofy gag, Jaxxon's role carries total weirdness thanks to his bizarre dual identity. He's both the wisecracking cartoon rabbit mercenary and, in some expanded lore tied to Endor, revered as a deity by the Dullocs, those hairy green cavemen who rival the Ewoks, a space bunny who's simultaneously a smuggler and a god worshipped by an alien tribe. That's wild. Creator Roy Thomas and artist Howard Chaykin broke from the grounded tone George Lucas set and dove headfirst into pulp comic absurdity. Jaxxon's presence shows how those early comics introduced far more cartoonish and offbeat characters. He even commanded his own starship, the Rabbit's Foot, and got tangled in adventures blending parody with myth, something that didn't sit well with all fans. That fan divisiveness adds to his charm. Some Star Wars enthusiasts see Jaxxon as an embarrassing relic, while others celebrate his unapologetic weirdness as part of the franchise's quirky DNA. Recent comics have brought him back into official canon, proving Lucasfilm hasn't forgotten this green furball's strange legacy. If you think Jaxxon is bizarre, wait till you meet the next oddball, a nameless background character turned fan cult favorite who once carried an ice cream maker through Cloud City, Willrow Hood. Willrow Hood is the perfect example of how Star Wars fans can take a blink and you'll miss it extra and turn him into a legend. He flashes on screen for barely a second in The Empire Strikes Back, sprinting through Cloud City, clutching what looks like an ice cream maker. That's it. No lines, no name, just a guy running with a weird white cylinder. But here's where it gets interesting. Originally played by Egbert Sen, fans quickly nicknamed him the ice cream maker guy because that's exactly what it looked like. The mystery around the device sparked wild theories. Was it rebel tech? A secret weapon? Mostly, fans just loved how absurd it was. Years later, Star Wars lore caught up. The customizable card game gave him a name, Willrow Hood, and a backstory. He became a Tanagassan miner, sympathetic to the rebel cause, working in Tabana gas mining on Cloud City. The ice cream maker was retconned as a high-tech data storage unit carrying sensitive rebel intel. Suddenly, he wasn't just a random runner, but a covert hero risking everything to protect critical secrets from the Empire. That's not all. Fans embraced Willrow as a cult icon, sparking traditions like the running of the hoods at Star Wars Celebration, where fans jog with replica ice cream makers chanting his name. What was a silent cameo turned into a joyful inside joke and symbol of how even the smallest characters can have a huge impact on Star Wars lore. This retroactive storytelling shows the power of fan creativity inside media. From silent extra to heroic figure, Willrow Hood proves the fandom's love for digging deep into tiny details and making legends. But if you think one mysterious runner is quirky, wait until we meet the Bedlam Spirits. The Bedlam Spirits. The Bedlam Spirits are some of the most jaw-droppingly powerful beings in the entire Star Wars expanded universe. Introduced in early 1980s UK comics, these ethereal entities aren't just Force users. They practically redefine what cosmic power means. They lounge on the planet Bedlam near the Bedlam Pulsar, manipulating reality itself with a casual flick of the wrist. Before you roll your eyes thinking this sounds like a typical omnipotent space gods trope, hear me out. The Bedlam Spirits don't just warp matter or use mind tricks. They reshape time, causality, and even physical form as if it were child's play. Among them, Talatni stands out as the first to toy with taking physical shape, treating time like a puzzle to amuse herself. They confront Princess Leia in surreal sequences where time loops, events rewrite themselves, and the rules of the galaxy bend with an eerie whimsy. Leia isn't battling stormtroopers here, she's caught in the middle of a metaphysical playground where nothing stays constant. Despite their almost unfathomable power, these spirits bicker and behave with a mischievous, even childish personality. Imagine eldritch cosmic elders with the temperament of kids in a candy store. That's the Bedlam Spirits in a nutshell. Here's the thing, they push Star Wars into realms of cosmic fantasy that make even the ones from Mortis look like amateurs. Their power breaks all standard Force limits, but their antics make them oddly relatable as pranksters rather than tyrants or sages. This contrast blows open what Star Wars storytelling can handle, melding high-concept metaphysics with playful irreverence. Community-wise, the Bedlam spirits are cult legends, known mostly by hardcore fans of Legends comics. Discussions often center on their insane scale of power and whether such entities should ever be canonized, since they threaten to make all normal Jedi and Sith conflicts seem trivial, but many appreciate them as proof that Star Wars can dare to be both deeply weird and philosophically mind-bending. If you think this level of cosmic weirdness is wild, hold tight, because next we're diving into the galaxy's most infamous and absurd trickster, Salacious B. Crumb. Salacious B. Crumb. Salacious B. Crumb is the embodiment of grotesque comic relief in the darkest corners of Star Wars, specifically Jabba the Hutt's palace. This tiny Kowakian monkey lizard first graced the screen in Return of the Jedi back in 1983, perching on Jabba's throne and cackling with an unsettling shrillness that cuts through the oppressive heat and slime of Hutt space. He's small, less than a meter tall, but his laugh echoes the cruel, chaotic spirit of Jabba's inner court like a sinister laugh track. Before you think of him as just a random background oddball, here's the thing. Crumb is no mere pet. His relentless snickering and mischievous antics amplify the twisted humor of the Hutt's criminal empire. He mocks prisoners, torments droids, and generally delights in the pain and humiliation around him. He's that grotesque jester who laughs while terrible things happen, making the whole scene both disturbing and darkly funny at once. Now, the behind-the-scenes story makes it even weirder. The name Salacious B. Crumb wasn't some carefully planned saga myth name. It sprung from a real-life joke. Legendary effects artist Phil Tippett recalls a spontaneous burst of inspiration during a Mexican restaurant visit. Something about untied shoes and playful offhand naming birthed this bizarre yet iconic figure. So Crumb isn't just a diegetic piece of Jabba's depravity. He's also a metatextual reminder that some of Star Wars' strangest characters come from purely impulsive, joyful creativity. What's fascinating is how Crumb walks this line. He's both a symbol of cruelty and a burst of weird humor injected right into the grimness of Hutt society. In a saga full of epic heroes and villains, he's a small creature who somehow steals scenes and lingers in memory because of that unsettling laugh and his relentless, chaotic presence. But if you think a shrieking monkey lizard is peak weirdness, wait until you get into Gwarm, whose obscure menace takes the bizarre to another level entirely. Gwarm isn't actually a character in the Ewoks animated series, despite what some obscure fan lists might suggest. In reality, there's no official record of anyone by that name appearing in the show or related Star Wars canon. And Greg Ellis, who's known for voicing some slick Star Wars animated characters later on, wasn't part of the Ewoks cast at all. So why do names like this keep floating around? Because the Ewoks series, running from 1985 to 1986, created a bunch of strange minor creatures and villains, many of which barely made a ripple in the franchise's huge lore ocean. The Ewoks show itself was a strange experiment, bringing lighthearted yet sometimes dark fantasy adventures to Saturday morning cartoon slots. It tested how far the Star Wars universe could stretch into whimsical tales for kids, with lots of weird woodland critters and odd villainous creatures. While Gwarm as a name doesn't exist in that lineup, dozens of similar minor antagonists do. They're mostly forgotten now, lurking in dusty episode guides and fans' memory banks, never quite surviving the jump into mainstream Star Wars recognition. This widespread obscurity says a lot about the 80s Star Wars extra content. For every beloved character like Wicket or Teak, there were countless one-off baddies who vanished after their brief appearances, living only in faint mentions or archived credits. Fans who explore this era often marvel at just how weird and colorful these cartoons got, featuring creatures that mix fantasy tropes with sci-fi settings in ways that feel almost disconnected from the films. That mystery and oddness is exactly what keeps the Ewoks animated series fascinating, even if some named characters like Gwarm never actually existed. It's a reminder of how the Star Wars galaxy once felt wild, unpredictable, and full of forgotten corners. But if you thought these forest critters were obscure, wait until you hear about the sentient mountain that cries healing tears, Mount Sorrow. Mount Sorrow. Mount Sorrow is one of the more mysterious locations in Star Wars lore, an ancient mountain on the forest moon of Endor steeped in local Ewok legend. But it's not a sentient being or a crying mountain with magical tears like some myths might suggest. Instead, Mount Sorrow first appeared in the 1986 Ewoks comic series, during a time when Star Wars storytelling happily blurred sci-fi with mystical fantasy vibes. Before you roll your eyes, hear me out. While Mount Sorrow itself doesn't have consciousness, Ewok shamans and storytellers consider it a sacred place, believed to harbor powerful natural spirits. The mountain is associated with rituals, secrets, and tests of bravery. According to the comics, it's a place where dangers like steep cliffs and natural hazards keep outsiders away, and its name perfectly captures the foreboding feeling it gives off. This atmosphere makes Mount Sorrow feel more like a legendary shrine or a force of nature than just an ordinary mountain. Local Ewok folklore treats it as a spiritual site where emotions like sorrow and reverence are tied to the landscape rather than a literal living being. These stories keep the mountain wrapped in mystery and respect, highlighting the Ewoks' deep connection to their natural world. The fact that Mount Sorrow appears only in a few 1980s Ewok comics shows how experimental those stories were, embracing magical elements and local mythologies alongside more traditional sci-fi stuff like starships and aliens. It's a cool example of how Star Wars has always been willing to dabble in different genres. Among fans, Mount Sorrow is remembered as a quirky relic from a less polished era, proof that the galaxy far, far away once flirted freely with fantasy weirdness. Some appreciate it for pushing tonal boundaries, others see it as a strange oddity that didn't quite fit with the main saga's vibe. But if you think a mysterious mountain is strange, just wait until you meet the next character, Abeloth, a dark side entity so terrifying she makes Mount Sorrow look like a friendly hill. Abeloth is probably the single strangest and most unsettling villain Star Wars has ever thrown at us, and that's saying something. She's not just another Dark Lord with a lightsaber. Abeloth is cosmic horror incarnate, born from forbidden rituals and tragic family drama. Before you shrug this off as typical expanded universe overreach, hear me out. Abeloth is a game changer. She started as a mortal woman called the Servant over 100,000 years ago, part of a godlike family called the Ones. But desperate to belong and gain immortality, she drank from the font of power and bathed in the pool of knowledge. Those forbidden acts twisted her into Abeloth, the bringer of chaos, and an entity so dangerous Jedi and Sith had to team up to stop her. Officially, she's a dark side entity trapped in a realm called the Maw, but also a psychic parasite. Abeloth's signature move is possessing other Force users, driving talented Jedi insane and turning them into weapons of destruction. Her influence spreads like a virus, poisoning minds and forcing uneasy alliances between enemies who dread facing her alone. Here's where it gets really wild. Abeloth's story is soaked in family tragedy. She began as a caregiver, a mother figure trying to hold her immortal family together, but her hunger for power corrupted that love into an insatiable craving for control and chaos. Her path crosses Jacen Solo's war against the Jedi, which accidentally weakens her prison and unleashes her terror on the galaxy once more. This is Star Wars mythology fused with eldritch horror and Shakespearean drama, a clash of cosmic scale and intimate pain. Abeloth isn't a villain you fight with a blaster. She's a metaphysical force warping reality and sanity with every move. Fans often rank Abeloth among the most powerful and terrifying forces in the expanded universe, debating if she eclipses even iconic beings like the son and daughter of Mortis. She symbolizes how far Legends lore pushed Star Wars into mythic, almost Lovecraftian darkness. Some love this cosmic horror vibe, others think it undermines the grounded, character-driven saga. Either way, Abeloth stands as a unique blend of horror, myth, and family tragedy in Star Wars. Proof this galaxy holds ancient, dark mysteries that twist the Force into something terrifying and unknowable. But if you think that's strange, wait until you meet a crustacean gambler with a ridiculous name and even bigger attitude. Up next, Therm Scissorpunch. Therm Scissorpunch. Therm Scissorpunch isn't your typical Star Wars character. He literally started as a fast food commercial sidekick for Denny's back in 2018, a crustacean-looking alien with a name so extra it sounds like a rejection letter from a fantasy novel author. But here's the kicker. He's now canon, like really canon. A long-lived Nephrin pirate and gambler who's survived centuries, rubbing shoulders with big names and shady figures across eras. Before you scoff at crustacean gambler, hear me out. Therm's canonical story paints him as a boastful card player who's actually mediocre at Sabasi, relying mostly on his fearsome shell and that ridiculously formal name to intimidate opponents. His sharpened claw, yes, embedded with a weapon, adds to his pirate swagger, even though his game skills are frankly underwhelming. What makes Therm even weirder is his connection to Maz Kanata's era, specifically during turbulent turf wars on planets like Takodana. He's not just a background alien, he's involved in protecting criminal interests alongside one of the most mysterious and long-running gray characters in the saga. On Vandor's gambling tables, Therm crosses paths with classic scoundrels like Lando Calrissian and Han Solo, tying him directly into the familiar saga orbit despite his odd origins. Here's the thing, Therm Scissorpunch perfectly embodies Disney-era Star Wars weirdness. He wasn't born in a studio writer's room or introduced in a feature film. He came from a totally unexpected place, a pancake house marketing campaign. Yet through savvy world building and lore integration, he's grown into a legitimate figure in the galactic underworld. This transformation shows how modern Star Wars loves to mine even its strangest side characters, turning marketing fluff into multi-layered, timeline-spanning personalities. In a franchise where a green rabbit mercenary can become a god and a tiny droid smith can be a mission-critical hero, Therm fits right in. His rise from diner commercial to nefarious pirate feels like a love letter to fans who enjoy the galaxy's oddball corners and quirks. But if you thought Therm was bizarre, wait till you meet the itty-bitty genius who hacks droids for a living next. Babu Frick might be the tiniest character in Star Wars history, but don't let his size fool you. This little Anzellan droidsmith packs a massive punch in The Rise of Skywalker. At about 9 inches tall, he's a pint-sized tech genius who can hack droids like a pro C-3PO among the Resistance, and even shady spice runners on Kijimi. If C-3PO's memory was some kind of safe, Babu Frick was the lockpicker who cracked it wide open. Before you write him off as just a goofy sidekick, hear me out. Babu Frick's role goes far beyond comic relief. His animated, playful voice, brought to life by Shirley Henderson, gives him an infectious charm that instantly endears him to audiences. Watch his "Hey hey" catchphrase spread like wildfire online, and you'll know he's more than just a background oddity. Despite appearing in only a handful of scenes, he became arguably the emotional core when he took on the risky task of wiping C-3PO's memories just to retrieve that vital Sith Wayfinder data. From the gritty droid garages of Kijimi's underworld to the high stakes of the Resistance's galaxy-wide struggles, Babu Frick blends technical mastery with undeniable personality, proving even the smallest heroes can have the biggest impact. His scramble to reprogram C-3PO captures a distinct tension. It's not just circuitry being rewritten, but loyalty, history, and identity hanging in the balance. The emotional weight packed into this quirky exchange is a rare gem, especially in a blockbuster known for rapid-fire pacing and galaxy-shattering battles. What's fascinating is how Babu Frick embodies the spirit of Star Wars weirdness updated for modern audiences. He's not a cosmic horror or a terrifying villain, he's playful, mischievous, and just weird enough to stand out without tipping into absurdity. His presence shows how the franchise's weirdest characters still deliver vital story functions, wrapped in layers of humor and heart. Some fans even consider him the best new character in the sequel trilogy, a testament to how well-crafted weirdness remains essential to keeping Star Wars fresh and unpredictable. Ultimately, Babu Frick closes this list as a living reminder that weirdness is not a glitch in the code, but a feature of the Star Wars galaxy. From green rabbits to eldritch spirits, weird characters have always propelled the saga forward, mixing in humor, surprise, and even genuine emotion. Babu's blend of charm, technical skill, and comic timing proves that Star Wars oddball creatures aren't just background flavor. They're often the glue that holds the story together in unforgettable ways. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more, click the video on the screen now.